True. Again, more people need to speak up. Speak up. Yes. Because. Oh, okay, someone appreciated my comment. You're welcome. It was, by the way, about how foreigners in Japan, um, how they act out in public, how they behave. And I was like, yeah, but then someone mentioned how also locals misbehave in the same way, how they've been living there, and people have mentioned how locals also behave weirdly at times. And I was like, someone said that basically that locals can do however they please, it's their home. And I was like, no, social places are not their home. Social places, so public places, are for everybody. And it doesn't mean that you can act however you want to and however you please in social places without any type of, backlash, without expecting any type of backlash. If you're about to act out in ways that are socially promiscuous, socially inadequate, unethical, outwardly, like openly unethical, ignoring of others' boundaries with your behavior in a significant way, even I'd say on a scale medium to very obviously significant, then you should know that there will be public judgment and it's only normal. There aren't, of course, by cultural norms and different ways. They might not act accordingly out in the public, but they will still judge you. But there are people also who will, however, act upon it, you know. So that differs already. But social place, even if you were born in that country, doesn't give you any type of shit, type of a pass to act however the fuck you want to. Bro. And to back to the cosplay community and fakeness. I've spoken on this, and again, yes, this is true. Being for more than 12 years in the community, actually, if I count it fully, but with some pauses, I've observed so many things from people. And unfortunately, yes, it's true, that psychologically people can be more unstable in artsy overall environments, creative environments, in a different way of instability than, let's say, people in office or other public spaces where there's still also misbehavior, mistreatment of somebody else. It exists everywhere, but of course, in the community that you're in, that you're connected to, you have all the rights to speak out on this because you've experienced that. And yes, that's true. It can be universally true for everywhere, but like people are speaking out on what they have experienced, right? Which is completely fine. And yes, that's just the truth. Um, and by saying that it happens everywhere, that's just a generalization and a general judgment. Where does it lead us to? It comes from a smaller blob into a large freaking blob. How are you going to evaluate the large freaking blob? Of course, you can make some core truths and values and dissect them, but if you dissect them in the category of the exact community, you might come to different sources of it and different types of points and pinpoint the stuff why this happens, pinpoint the stuff in order to be able to evaluate it and maybe make people think about it. And about cosplay community, I already said that there are plenty of fake ass people because they are seeking validation in forms of self expression and putting on a costume of a character. They feel stronger, better, whatever else, cooler than they actually feel as the person they are. There are many people like this who are downplaying their true selves, underappreciating their true selves. However, there is also the good way of embracing your own qualities through the character and not devaluing your actual true persona that feels so insecure, and that's why it puts on the costume. You can literally amp your security in your own personality and self by learning to appreciate the parts of the character that are true in you. And by recognizing the patterns of the character that can also be toxic or that can also be very great for your own development. And this is psychologically true. And playing out these types of cases, drama therapy is an incredibly powerful tool for your psyche to both analyze your behaviors, analyze what you fear, what you like, etc. And you can literally introspect through this. But people are doing this plenty of times to their own detriment because you can't do drama therapy on your own. You can't frequently psychoanalyze on your own. It's like a gift that's given. You know, like there are genius mathematicians, someone might be inborn psychologist, but people they have different qualities, different inborn traits, different things, right? And that's why it's not frequently it's very uneasy to introspect for people. And if they don't introspect, that leads to this type of fakeness and that leads to toxic environments. Because if there is a toxic person that acts out on their insecurities, gossips about other people in order to feel more validated, talks down shit on somebody in order to, again, themselves feel more validated because, let's say, they were in the same costume as that other person and they just feel so unequal, they feel so terrible because they want to be the first. This is very toxic. It means they probably were really devalued in their life previously. They really want to be valued, but they act out through extreme toxic ways by devaluing and gossiping and bashing other people for absolutely nothing, for just being in that same character. Not because they have some, let's say, derogatory moral qualities, or let's say they talked shit on them first and then they answered, aka that is defense. Okay, defense to bullying, that's different. But if they literally act out based on their inner insecurities and they bring down other people on this purpose of literally just strictly gaining validation on themselves, it is fake and it's detrimental to both the person and the commune they're in. And there are plenty of people who are manipulating this type of stuff, who are play pretending, putting smoke and mirrors in order to gain followers, and that's literally just that validation, and they never feel validated ever. No matter how much or how many followers they have, these people don't feel validated and they remain toxic because they don't actually appreciate their own personality. They don't appreciate their own traits, their own character. They can only appreciate their own traits or character solely through masking themselves under a character. This type of masking doesn't just happen in cosplay community. This type of masking happens in like everywhere, also in office environments, etc., business, work environments, everywhere, okay? And this type of masking is very counterproductive to your own development, your own expression of your true self, authenticity. And when you're authentic, you feel more free in yourself and you feel better. It's not the fake consensus of authenticity that people have brought with through some very materialistic sense, slamming that freaking band-aid on top of the surface of a rotting wound. This is not how it is. You literally go introspect that wound and you treat it, you know, aka you understand the details of why you act the ways you act towards other people. And again, I'm not talking about defense, I'm talking about literal bully attitudes that people do. Okay, the types of like crimes they commit, and people don't want to introspect also because they don't want to be guilty. And this comes from also a wound of perhaps perfectionism. Their parents always devalued them, they want to be perfect, but they can't be perfect because what? Because they're acting out on their wounds and their bully attitudes. And the best way to literally put this aside is by understanding that perfection is non-existent. We can only strive gradually for bettering ourselves and striving for perfection or goodness, but not in a way like when you literally make yourself so rigidly guarded that you become so toxic towards other people and bully attitudes. Rigidly guarded meaning in the scheme of your perfectionism attitudes that come from inability to validate yourself and constantly seeking validation from others in a huge percentage that overpowers any type of your own self validation and understanding that you're a good enough person on your own, even if you don't gain this type of a validation constantly from others. It doesn't matter, it could be from your friend, could be from your partner. It's like this type of codependent behavior. If you constantly seek approval and validation from friend, partner, community in order just to feel good about yourself, that is a codependent behavior, and that comes from a wound that's been inflicted on a person psychologically by them actually feeling devalued, you know. And yeah, I'm not talking about medium level cases. Like, I'm talking about pretty more so like extreme cases of gradually more extreme, let's say, when they literally can't exist on their own. They constantly need validation. They seek it through bullying others, they seek it through literally devaluing others for like absolutely nothing. And again, it's not criticism. Bullying is different than criticism. There can be also these nuances, such as like derogatory compliments, also like what are those called? Backhanded compliments, right? Like, for example, like, oh, you always look so nice. Like, or why do you always look so nice? Why do you always have new costumes? Or why do you always like have wow queen, queen king whatever? Why do you always have like it's different, right? But like, let's say like, wow, you're so amazing. That's different. That's not like, let's say, derogatory or devaluing, but there are these backhanded compliments that are different sounding than the others. You can look it up. But yeah, this is like basically dissecting this type of a thing in more detail. I didn't dissect this before in such detail, but right now, yeah, I mean, that's how it comes from. And this term of inner child, right? That you are, if you operate through your inner child, it doesn't freaking mean that it's healed and good behavior. People can behave in most retarded ways through their inner child by bullying others, bringing them down. Yeah. It depends what type of like inner child you have. It called those, let's call those like Jungian, sorry, terms of inner child. Um, you can behave in actually toxic ways through your inner child. Like, I don't really like to call it out as like inner child because I don't believe that adults have some type of an inner child. I do like the archetype innocent child, but I don't like adults actually equating themselves to having something of like inner child, because these attitudes again can gradually become toxic. They can start thinking of themselves as like, oh, I'm acting this way, misbehaving because I have this inner child active. No, you're just misbehaving because you're fucking toxic, honestly. And you don't know how to operate through that inner child in order to heal them, in order to actually appreciate and bring appreciation to their good qualities, not the trashy and terrible qualities. And bring back judgment. Judgment is important. Non-judging attitudes lead to absolute chaos, lack of discipline, and that is the truth. And people don't like to admit this because they wanna, because we live in this time of Aquarius age, and where people might have a lack of sense of boundaries. If they don't compute through analytical ways, they might lose the framework of boundaries or have some type of weird fictional visions of what boundaries are. They can become actually woo woo. You have to balance this material sense and metaphysical sense, and you have to understand the metaphysical consensus, the framework, and boundaries of the information field that we have all around us and that we operate through and within, right? Within ourselves. It's like you can't put yourself and your inner truth as the whole world of value and put it on top of the layer of the actual universal laws or the world. You have to work in balance, in alignment with the universal laws and with the world. And this is the mistake that people make by over individualistic value. And this is the definition, the most common definition of it is like, you come first, you're most important, but people literally mistaken this for egotism. It is supposed to come with boundaries, balanced understandings when you take into account other people because they exist on the same world and surroundings as you do. Again, I'm not talking about the defense. If someone did you shit, they receive fucking karma. Okay? You have to also evaluate the karma. Balance through justice comes true, not through some sort of lack of evaluation, just solely acting through your feelings. Inner core feeling is different than the surface level emotionality, and people with imbalanced egoic self, imbalanced with the spiritual, with the soul or energy aspect of themselves, will act out through their surface emotionality, thinking that this type of evaluation is the correct way to exist on a surface layer. And this is where the fakeness comes through in emotionality. And that type of emotionality and the type of surface level is what we observe as result in these gossip types of ways by people impulsively acting out on this, perhaps then regretting it, by people not evaluating enough of a critical thought about what they're about to say, jumping through. We all can have attitudes of jumping through. But like if you literally act upon the surface layer on jump through, you have lots of regretonies. Do you need lots of regretonies? You don't. And this is why we all work on ourselves and our soul development. We don't just slam a healing, beautiful band aid on top of the layer of a rotten wound or whatever the wound looks like. Yes, it might look ugly even. You gotta look at it, you gotta treat it. Do you wanna make it pretty? Is that layer, is that inner suffering, is that inner stuff? Then stop slamming the unworking band-aid on top of a big wound and actually patch it up. With help, others can help you. And this is completely normal. The commune is there for helping each other, and people forget about this because what? Because they're in the fake layers of their ego, of their egoic self, and they devalue others, and they're ungrateful because what? Because they are acting out on emotionality surface layer, and don't feel the commune sense. Let's be real. That's where the fakeness comes through. They're just like, I act upon myself and my goodness and my own development. Well, they count themselves in a community and that they're so caring, or etc. etc. Judgment, too, is very different. You can be judgmental in a bad way, you can be judgmental in a good way. It's also gradual. It's not just black and white, it's very gradual. This is why you have to evaluate these things also in detail. And it all comes with thinking, and it all comes with work. And people think that if they want think and want work, it will be happiness. It won't be happiness. You're gradually contributing to the decay of society, to the decay of the world. If we didn't think, we'd be freaking retarded, and we would be freaking destroying our commune and our environments even more. Okay? This is why we all gather ourselves. We actually evaluate things. We learn more critical thinking. We learn to feel the soul, the gut, the core, whereas the truth, whereas intuitively more true aspect, where we should stop, where we should continue. This is your path, your destiny. This is literally what I'm talking about when you learn this type of discernment. And it's extremely important in any type of, first of all, your own self-evaluation and being, and second of all, the community you're in. Because when you sense your inner depth and truth and the core, and brah, we're never ready to do this. We're never ready. Then you can actually evaluate societal and help these aspects in others, you know. Yeah, okay, that's all. That's about that type of fakeness and stuff, you know. And fakeness right now is all around us. It's a lot of fakeness right now because, again, Aquarius age, people start to not understand these senses of boundaries by being all encompassing in thought. It doesn't mean that you lose yourself to complete woo woo and lack of boundaries. It has to involve both intuition, both gut feeling connected to it, and your analytical mind that has to process your heart and everything in connection, in conjunction, in they have to be friends, okay? They gotta be friends, they gotta work hand by hand, holding each other, okay? That's all. Thank you for listening. Some who are like, how dare you speak about my friends like that? You just called my friends fake shits? Yes, I did. And you, as a good friend, would contribute to calling them out on their shitty, gossipy, bullshitting behavior. As a good friend with good qualities, you should call them out. For them to change for the better, for them to make a better community, for them to actually contribute to better values than what they are. Do you want your friend to stay the same? Or friends or whatever? Do you want them to remain in this fake shit attitude, spread some evil juju around? Shit, if I'm completely real, there are even people messing with black magic that shouldn't even be touching the desk themselves. It's insanity. Do you want your friends to contribute to bad juju and to some bullshit? You want them to be stuck forever? Get into spiritual jail and or like mental imprisonment, and they can easily. It's like they think they'll gain shit. They will lose it all actually. It's not sending back to somebody. It's like when they contribute to the downfall of someone. When they just, out of spite, out of hate, want to act out on downfall of somebody, they will lose it all. They will get in mental prison. in spiritual jail. Do you want your friends to contribute to such a downfall of themselves? If they don't listen, then they don't listen. Yes, I agree. Just drop them then. You don't need such people in your environment. Why do you want to act out with fake shits? And it's different gradual levels of people. They might just do something wrong, right? We all might make mistakes and stuff, but it's not a mistake when someone acts in a pattern to literally just contribute and do something for somebody's downfall, aka bullying them behind their back, talking shit on them that they've never done, etc., you know? Literally smearing somebody's name is bullying. It's bullying, and it's an actual spiritual downfall. Do you think you can just bully people out of their fucking sense and then act like nothing happened? No, you'll be in mental prison and spiritual jail, and these things exist. You just don't freaking see them. It's your problem. And then you call yourself some type of, like spiritual inclinations or however the fuck people call this nowadays. Like baby witch or something? What the fuck? Like, it's so cringe when people are trying to attribute some values and they're actually with no moral qualities and values themselves. How can you attribute something like this? Again, slam it top on top of something like a healing band-aid or like some pretty band-aid. Hello Kitty band-aid on top of stuff. That's so cringe. That's so cringe. And you should call these people out. If you want to be a better person, then you should literally tell them that they're doing wrong, man. They're doing wrong. Instead of telling me, how dare I call your friends this way, fake shits, etc., maybe tell them to stop acting like fake shits. Thank you.